Ah yes, nothing better than the month of May. School gets out, the weather gets nicer, and the NASCAR season starts to show its true colors. 3 points-paying races will show who has the edge heading into the dog days of summer and who is falling behind. After an average month of Kyle Busch dominance, we better hope that the wonderful month of May can provide us with some exciting finishes and some unpredictability that's been lacking from the 2018 season so far. The first race in the month of May takes us to the old Dover Downs for the AAA Drive for Autism 400. Entering the weekend, the race had tons of hype that could be a game changer for this season. The Chevrolet Camaro showed some early speed in qualifying with Kyle Larson in the pole position. Chase Elliott, of course, came close to winning during the fall playoff race. And obviously, the all-time god, Jimmy Johnson, is the king of Dover. Maybe the third best manufacturer can finally do something besides luck and do a Daytona 500 win. Let's go. Stage 1 starts out with Kyle Larson going to the back due to failing inspection 3 times and his car chief getting ejected. Kevin Harvick takes command of the race before Michael McDowell and Bubba Wallace make contact. With each and every week, the Bubba bandwagon fan base loses more and more hope. Richard Petty, as we all know, is a handshake away from selling all his assets and closing up shop, and the performance has been lacking for this team. We can only hope that Bubba Wallace can find a competitive team somewhere else. You know, one that knows how to communicate and work together as a team. Wow, Average Bowman takes the lead at Dover. Even though it was due to pit strategy, he was able to hold off the leaders for 24 laps. This shows that the Camaro can run up front, but they just need to execute the entire race. Something that the 88 team obviously failed horribly at during this race. He ended up finishing 23rd, 3 laps down. This team is much better than 2018, but wow. Greg Ives and company need to better themselves over the summer, or they will end up like Casey Kane and completely collapse from the playoff picture. So stage 1 continues, and what do you know? Kevin Harvick dominates and wins the stage. Barely any competition or contest for the freaky fast Jimmy John's team, and once again, they prove they are the team to beat. So stage 2 continues, and what do you know? Kevin Harvick dominates and wins the stage. Barely any competition or contest for the freaky fast Jimmy John's team, and once again, they prove they are the team to beat. With that said, however, we get an interesting battle for the free pass between the overcorrection kings of NASCAR, Checkers or Wreckers, Eric Jones, and William Byron, as they compete for the luxury of getting the lucky dog. Ultimately, Byron in the brilliant Flames Exalta car takes the honors. It seems like William Byron does better with the Flames on his car. Too bad this is the worst sponsor schedule I've ever seen. And the next race with the Exalta colors on the 24 is New Hampshire in July. And you guys might say, well, life's a beach, and then you drive, but the Liberty scheme is a true beach, as you will see later in the video, and he hardly drives away with that scheme unscathed. Oh, the final stage doesn't showcase much. You know, the ugly duckling in Clint Boyer takes the lead at the Dover Downs, running the Haas Automation VF1 paint scheme. Hopefully, this can result in another win for the 14 Ford Fusion, and he can best Kevin Harvick for once. Come on, Boyer, come on, you can do it.
He's there, he don't want to take a chance. Got to give it to him.
And I thought Boyer was maybe tight, but I think he's actually just a little bit too loose on this run.
Yeah, you heard him working the throw.
So the final stage continues, and what do you know? Kevin Harvick dominates and wins the race. barely any competition or contest for the freaky fast Jimmy John's team, and once again they proved they are the team to beat. Another race, another predictable outcome. The AAA 400 at Dover provided some very mediocre racing with another classic Kevin Harvick drubbing on the field. Hopefully this doesn't start another Kevin Harvick win streak. For the sake of the sport, let this be the case. We head back to the heartland of the United States as we head to the Kansas Speedway for the KC Masterpiece 400. This race will hopefully end up being a true masterpiece for this 2018 season, and the yellow brick road leads us to a new winner. So the green flag waves at Kansas, and we have a few contenders for the win. Obviously, Kevin Harvick led a majority of the race until the competition caution at lap 30. Ryan Blaney, however, showed his might during the first stage and put up a fight to Kevin Harvick and won the first stage. So far in 2018, Ryan Blaney has simply been there. Now sure, he's had his chances to win at Daytona, Martinsville, and Bristol. With that said, most other events he's either been painfully average or a step behind his other teammates. This race, however, looks very promising for the young driver, and he could do some damage in this one. Stage 2 begins with Kevin Harvick flexing his muscles once again. He takes command of the lead from the fleet of Penske cars and sets sail on the verge of dominating another race. At the same time, however, Kyle Larson emerges from the clouds and takes the lead. Ha ha ha! Yes, finally. See, I told you it's not a Camaro problem. Kyle Larson is showing they have speed. Meanwhile, Hendrick obviously is not doing very well in 15th.
2 laps down. Kyle Larson.
The moment you realize that pass was not for the lead, instead you are now 2 laps off the pace. At Lowe's, we'll provide a heavily discounted price on the racetrack for the 4018 this year for you guys to enjoy and watch. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's. Now take 100% off Jimmy Johnson's lap leading total from his lackluster 2017 season. Also, race in to witness 35% off a genius crew chief in Chad Canals. Larson sets sail in the Clover car and goes on to win Stage 2. The Chevrolet Camaro is finally relevant again. Feels good to see NASCAR's third best manufacturer lead some laps for once. The only thing that worries me is that Larson will find a way to choke up this whole race. So the final stage was completely boring and utter trash for the most part. While Kyle Larson was the dominator, which is a pleasant surprise for the time being, he was untouchable in this one. Only a miracle could derail this one. It just so happened that Daniel Suarez, 3 laps down, had to wipe out average Bowman. Suarez, really? Now, of course, he is still my favorite JGR driver, but come on, man. Maybe a bit too aggressive there? Well, whatever. That was his first true rookie mistake. Meanwhile, his teammate Checkers or Wreckers has a tally of about 5 or 8 of these rookie mistakes. Like I said, Daniel Suarez is a star in the making. He just needs either a gimmicky all-star package or some experience to prove himself. Better luck next time. Of course, Larson chokes up the restart. Flashbacks from the Rain City 500. Losing to Kyle Busch was haunting enough. Now, once again, Larson fails to capitalize on the key restart and now is falling behind. Whatever, at least he led some laps. And also add in, this race is not over by any means. 2 drivers could slam into one another and create a late race caution. Of course, YRB and Kyle Larson have to crash. Maybe a little bit too aggressive there, Blaney. Now sure, it's coming down to the end of the race. I completely get it. Blaney needed to do something in order to potentially, miraculously, have a chance to catch Kevin Harvick. So I'll cut Blaney some slack and pin this one as a racing incident. It's just too bad it ultimately took out the two drivers I wanted to win.
Right up against that wall, but he made the pass. Oh, trouble.
Hard to the wall goes.
Holy cow, William Byron hard into the wall, bursting into flames. Which reminds me, remember when I said the Exalta car was God? Well, the Liberty University car is completely cursed. Sure, you could blame it on Byron overcorrecting for the second time this season, but sometimes a paint scheme can just provide tons of misery for the driver. Just remember, Jimmy Johnson with that white low scheme. It seemed like he'd always crash or lose in that paint scheme, which was very uncharacteristic for Jimmy Johnson. So far in 2018, the Liberty colors have been no different, as they provided him a lucky top 10 at Texas because half the field had to wreck, 2 mediocre results at Atlanta and Martinsville, and now 2 crashes. Maybe it's time for Liberty to change up the paint scheme, or better yet, add neon yellow numbers.
Introducing McDonald's new $1, $2, $3 menu.
I'll have the I haven't been relevant since 2002 meal.
Oh, we got one spinning.
And it's McMurray.
Man, that thing is flipping, rolling.
That car is jumping.
2 sausage McMuffin with egg and 2 small iced caramel macchiatos for just $10.
Exactly.
Oh,
Jamie
trouble.
McMurray
Trouble.
in the wall.
Build whatever meal you want with favorites on McDonald's new $1, $2, $3 menu.
It's a shame Matt Kenseth struggled tonight at Kansas. You could really tell how outdated Kmart racing is compared to its competition. When a Cup Series champion who raced for Joe Gibbs Racing last season and won at Phoenix last year cannot keep from going a lap down before the competition caution at lap 30, you know there are some major issues. Now, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the 17 team don't seem to have these issues. With that said, however, the 6 team got behind because of the engineers behind that team and a mediocre talent known as Trevor Bayne. I totally get the change it up, try something new approach Kmart is trying to work on. Therefore, I'll give them some more time before I can become too critical on this team. Hopefully it gets better. Please, Matt Kenseth deserves to stick it to Coach Joe. Don't disappoint. So the end of the race sees some strategies shake up the ball game, hopefully for the better. MTJ and Joey Logano lead a notable group that stays out under caution. With Kevin Harvick mired back at 6th, it will be absolutely impossible for him to win this race. Should get interesting. Here comes MTJ to take the win. Wait, who is that? Oh boy, here comes Kevin Harvick to take the KC Masterpiece 400. His 5th win of 2018. Just remember, back in 2016, Jimmy Johnson won 5 races. 5 the entire season en route to becoming the champion. Gee, what a predictable outcome as always. Now, of course, the race had a thrilling finish, and it was overall decent. With that said, however, the parity once again makes it frustrating to watch, and it will most likely turn off a couple more diehard fans. So certainly not a positive outlook in my mind, and instead it is quite concerning.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Race number 13, the halfway point of the regular season, leads us to the Queen City. Time for an endurance race for the ages. The Charlotte 600. Kevin Harvick luckily has to start 39th in this race, so he will have a difficult time making his way through the field. Should be a good one. The early sequence of the race features Kyle Busch blowing out the field. Rather predictable in terms of NASCAR this season. Something slightly less predictable is Kevin Harvick's tear through the field. He passed all 4 Hendrick snowmobiles in 17 laps and is trekking the top 5 halfway during stage 1. So Kyle Busch is going to be dead meat once the 4 catches him. Are you kidding me? The 4 car is gone. Not even 1/4 of the way in, and Kevin Harvick's day is done. This only means one thing. Congrats to Kyle Busch on winning the 2018 Charlotte 600. Before all this, however, Austin Dillon crashes in the Coca-Cola car. You guys know how much I hate Coke, so this was pleasant to see. What is even more hateable, however, is Austin Dillon's performance after his Daytona 500 win. Subtracting that win on the last lap, Austin Dillon would easily be outside the top 20 in the standings and nowhere close to the playoff picture. Now sure, they could be sandbagging this entire season in order to work on the Camaro. But at the same time, this is Richard Children's Racing we are talking about. The team is far from their past glory. And it doesn't help when you have a guy way past his prime, all washed up, and a driver that got 2 fluke wins in his career. Sadly, however, those are really the only 2 options for the team in the future because we all know they go for the dollar instead of the talent. Besides Daniel Hemrick, of course. Everything's great as Kyle Busch wins stage 1. 0 challenges for the lead whatsoever. With that said, however, it's still fairly early in NASCAR's longest race. Surely the competition will catch up in 300 laps. Another race, another William Byron overcorrection. Even worse, it's in the Liberty University car. This time they tried a lazy, uninspired, patriotic design that leaves fans with an eyesore. Now, of course, I love America and seeing the red, white, and blue. I don't want to be called a terrorist because I hate it on a patriotic design. However, Liberty could have done so much to the scheme than just make the Liberty on the hood and the sides modeled after the flag. Adding more salt to the wound, this crash makes the Rookie of the Year race even tighter. Yep, that's right. Bubba Wallace and the Handshaker Warrior are only 2 points behind Byron, a team that's probably going to go out of business within the next 3 years. Oh yeah, they're keeping up with a 24 this season. I'll leave it at that to define Byron's 2018 season. The following restart sees Jimmy Johnson get spun, and somehow, some way, Joey Logano and Checkers and Wreckers missed getting completely destroyed. Finally, maybe Eric Jones, he is finally coming full circle. I will admit, he looked fairly strong tonight, and maybe someday he can win a race. He was mainly a 10th place car, and the team seemed like it had the speed. Too bad the pit crew had to lose him 18 spots on pit road. 18! You see, Coach Joe, that was the issue with the 20 team, not the driver. Everything's great as Kyle Busch wins stage 2. 0 challenges for the lead whatsoever. With that said, however, it is still fairly early in NASCAR's longest race. Surely the competition will catch up in 200 laps. In the midst of the domination is Eric Almirola's impressive pair of 6th place finishes in the first 2 stages. Once again, the 10 car looks fairly impressive and consistent in this 600-mile race. Who knows? Maybe he can finally get a top 5 for the first time in the team's history. Speaking of the 10 team, let's see how GoDaddy Gal fared in her final race, the 102nd running of the Indy 500.
Into the corner. Trouble. Danica Patrick.
Oh, GoDaddy Gal, what a fitting way to go out. Oh yeah, great career, Danica. Oh, way to go. That deserves a round of applause right there. 1 fuel mileage win at Twin Motegi because Elio thought you were a lap car and decided to pull over to save fuel. Oh yeah, 1 rig 2013 Daytona 500 pole award and 7 top 10 finishes, mostly due to other drivers having bad luck. Oh man, way to go, Danica. Great career.
Jones, in the middle of the turn, the back end starts to come around. I thought that she was dealing with a car that was very neutral.
Stage 3 sees some contenders emerge, including Kyle Larson. Let's hope he doesn't choke up again. I truly can't suffer once again. And there it is. Another race, another choke up by Kyle Larson. It's an absolute shame. The man has endured some of the randomest garbage occur this year and should easily have at least one win by now. Watching him in 2018 is like watching Chase Elliott the last few years. You just wait for him to choke, and what do you know? There's always next week.
Driving, still in the game. Going down in a fire.
Look, it's a shooting star. Make a wish. I wish that Ryan Blaney would stop having the worst luck and actually win a cup race this season. Wait, never mind. That shooting star is Ryan Blaney flaming out in the PPG paints car. Of course, Ryan Blaney, once again, more bad luck. Just like Kyle Larson, every single time he's good at mile and a halves and stuff. And, he was also good at Bristol and Martinsville. And then, of course, he's got to get wiped out by washed-up Trevor Bayne at Bristol. And then at Kansas, of course, he has to have that race. And then this. Of course, his engine has to go in the middle of the race. It couldn't have been Kyle Busch. Of course, it couldn't have been Kyle Busch. It had to be Ryan Blaney. Of course. Everything's great as Kyle Busch wins stage 3. 0 challenges for the lead whatsoever. With that said, however, it's still fairly moderate, in NASCAR's longest race. Surely the competition will catch up in 100 laps. Oh no, not again. Kyle Busch is long gone.
Made more than one start.
Everything's great as Kyle Busch wins the Charlotte 600. 0 challenges for the lead the entire night. Gee, what a terrible race this was. How about a whopping 7 lead changes tonight? A majority of which occurred on pit cycles. Really? This is considered racing. Adding more salt to the wound, this was another predictable race to add to the other 8 races that were highly predictable. Honestly, it would have been more enjoyable with Harvick still in this snooze fest. At least we could have seen a pass for the lead. What a joke of a race. What a joke of parity. But at the same time, at least NASCAR isn't the NBA. Warriors versus Cavs for the 4th year in a row. Way to go, NBA. Yet, out of all the sports, the NBA is the one with rising TV ratings. I guess people like seeing predictability. So maybe this is good for NASCAR to end up like the NBA. Having more predictable results. People maybe they want to see a Kevin Harvick dynasty, a Kyle Busch dynasty. Instead of seeing, something you didn't expect, something you've never seen in the sport. Maybe it will work. So as we hit the 1/2 mark of the 2018 regular season, let's take a look at how the competition as it stacks up. Ford once again flexed its muscles with Kevin Harvick winning Dover, Kansas, and the All-Star race. He led tons of laps and added 12 more playoff points to his already massive total. The other 4 drivers looked solid, but they still lacked the necessary speed needed to take down the Ford team. The most impressive stat for this team, however, is that Ford has won 7 out of the 13 races this year. I predicted Ford to win 6 races total in 2018. I look like a complete idiot for putting the bar that low. Toyota started off the month sluggish. Dover was average. And then Kansas, oh my gosh, they were absolute average in that one. But once again, Kyle Busch bounced back by dominating the 600. Everything's great with the 18 team, and they look like the only match for the 4 team. Meanwhile, the other teams look plain decent. Nothing much. Chevrolet, however, they had a few positives to go their way. While they were the 3rd best manufacturer in all 3 races in the month of May, they brought some much needed speed to the racetrack. Kyle Larson led some laps at Kansas and has been a top 5 contender the last few weeks. Hendrick Motorsports, however, has been a mixed bag. Raw speed has gotten much worse for the organization, as they can't even beat Chris Buescher, David Reagan, and Ty Dillon on a 1.5 miles in qualifying. They can't even beat those drivers. That is how slow those HMS cars are. With that said, however, the team had a decent night in Charlotte, I'll admit. Jimmy Johnson looked like a contender for the first time in almost a year. Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott backed him up by consistently running top 10 all night. While the first 2 races this month were a joke in terms of performance, the 600 was a pleasant surprise, and it might kickstart more improvement within. Time will tell, but maybe Hendrick can win a race this season after all. So the month of June will see 3 races, which are also the final races for the NASCAR and Fox crew for 2018. So hopefully by Sonoma, the cameraman will ask Samantha Bush out to Red Lobster. We can only hope how many times she's appeared on the Fox telecast this year. And you know, that's the only really awful thing so far about them. But anyways, yeah, Pocono, Michigan, Sonoma, 3 fun races. Maybe we'll see a contender emerge. We'll see some great racing. And maybe we'll see a non-predictable winner for once. That would be amazing.